Okay, hello, sir. It's thank you so much for coming on our show. We really appreciate you for coming on our show. Thank you so much.
Well, and thank you for inviting me because I can't speak if you don't invite me.
Sir, we are the pioneers of, we are just getting into the industries. As of now, we have opened, our background is from web development in India because we are having the, pursuing the degree in this artificial intelligence. So what I have thought that let's get into this domain from and switch from our web development domain to this. So that's why we for this company also we are doing a lot of podcasts with a lot of guests so that we can get more and more information and switch to this industries really fast so that we can make products into this industries and get more and more valuable stuff from this, build some stuff. So that's why.
Well, India is really getting to the top.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know it, but in terms of PPP, not of gross national product, India is already number 3 in the world.
Yeah.
Many people don't even look at the figures, but India, if you look at gross national product, you're in what we call nominal value with exchange rates, which don't give the sense of the purchase power. But if you do it in PPP, which is the purchase power, where you just, see what can I buy with the money I'm earning, India is number 3. China's number 1, United States number 2, India number 3.
Yeah.
So
you know that? No.
No, I didn't know that because like
that's what I'm surprised. You should look at for PPP. That's very important.
Yeah, and
We got it.
Yeah, so let's start this session. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you grew up and how was your childhood?
Wow. Okay, I was born in Germany. My father was born in Russia. He went to the United States. And then from the United States, he became American. When he became American, because I'm older than you, he came during World War II and he fought World War II here in Europe, all the way to Germany. And once Germany was back to normal, I was born years after. And my mother was born in Sicily. So she was Italian and she met my father and they went to Germany where I was born. So I began my childhood in Germany. So I had a German nanny. I spoke German, I spoke English. But my father was a lawyer for NATO. So then we traveled a lot. So my childhood was traveling. So then I learned how to speak French. And then I went to French schools. Then I went to French universities. I also studied in American university after. So I would say up to around 22, 23, you could find me somewhere between Berlin and San Francisco. Because I was doing all kinds of jobs to pay for my studies.
Yeah.
I played the piano in bars. I did cleaning. I did night shifts. I did everything to pay for my college. Any job. I could clean. I could be security guard, play the piano, translator, interpreter, anything. And then, since you can sense in these few minutes that I'm a free person with practically no convention, I started freelancing when I was a student already, and I've been self-employed all my life.
Yeah.
I don't know what a boss is.
Yeah. So actually, there is a problem because we are young and we have also a company and we are also consulting, freelancing as a consultant to different companies. So the main problem we face in because our age is not, so we are only 20 or 90 years old. So they used to consider as a child, right? You don't know anything.
I didn't find that a problem. Of course, when I was your age, people would say, he's a kid, what does he know? Because in my family, we even look younger than we are. So when I was your age, maybe people thought I was 13 or 14. But once you get into the competence, once you show the corporations how you can help them, they don't care. They don't care if you're a child, an adult, where you come from, as long as you make profit for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the important point. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
very
all.
important.
As long as you give something to a corporation it needs, they don't care where you come from.
Yeah.
Mm.
So my next question is, can you tell me about like how you got excited for this AI artificial intelligence domain? Back then in 90s, when there was not enough data about this field, that no one knows about artificial intelligence. Now everyone knows, every person knows that there is something like artificial intelligence. But back then there was no internet or something like that. There is not a democratization of this internet stuff. So can you tell us
So,
how you got to know about this field? And
how to start for me? Well, you have the answer in what I just said before. By the time I was maybe 23, I knew several languages. I was traveling a lot, and I studied a lot, and I studied computational linguistics on the first very first made tiny computers. I mean, like a ZX81, just the processor that you would connect on your TV, no mouse. And remember, I like keyboards. I play the piano. So as soon as I saw a keyboard, it was very easy for me to learn how to type on a keyboard. I type with my 10 fingers and very, very quickly, because it's so slow compared to what you do when you're playing music, right? When you're playing a piano, you go. So I was going from a large piano world to this tiny keyboard. So it was so easy because you just have to know 25 letters and that's it.
yeah.
At the same time, languages was so easy for me too, because I was born like you, in fact, in a multi-language country. For you, you probably speak English and at least one or two Indian languages like Hindi or something like that. So you know what I'm talking about. Languages are easy for you. Okay, that's not your problem. Language is not your problem. Keyboard was not my problem. So when I put the two together, it was very easy for me to start programming because I was very good in philosophy at the university, and the concepts in computing are so small. You know, it's like it's a miniature world of thinking. There's not much thinking in a computer. It's this tiny world. So since I was studying linguistics, I began immediately writing grammar rules, vocabulary, statistics, because I like math. So I put it all together. And by 1978, I opened a language school with my wife. We had a very big success immediately, but there weren't enough teachers. So I began to write some exercises using these small processors and put it on TV so the student can learn it without me. So then I got into statistics. And then in 1982, I registered a patent, one of the first word-to-vector patents in the history of computer science. So where you can convert words into numbers. Once you have the numbers, then you can play around with the numbers and put them back into words. That's 1982. Okay, so, and then after that, the corporations got interested. They say, oh, how can this help us? And so very quickly in 1986, I registered another patent on cognitive chatbot, because at that point, there were expert systems. We could write expert systems. And we also had computers that were small computers. So I registered this patent. It was an immediate success. I got a contract with an official, it's Airbus now, and at that time it was called Aerospatial, a defense part, but it was written officially, Artificial Intelligence Program for Defense. So I got my first official contract in 1986, 1987, and also at the same time for an automatic language teacher chatbot for LVMH, Moët Chandon, the champagne company. So I got into artificial intelligence very quickly, in fact. And I didn't notice there was an AI winter. That's the problem. There was an AI winter, but I didn't notice it. I just noticed that people didn't want me to talk about it. That's the only, because I didn't have the internet. So I didn't know what was going on. I just noticed when you say artificial intelligence, well, they don't like it that much. So I would say optimizing system. So I was delivering artificial intelligence. I would explain it maybe over a dinner or lunch, but the corporations just kept buying and buying and buying because after I began optimizing fabric in textile companies. And you know, in India, it's a very big country for
Yeah.
textiles.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of textiles imported, in fact, from India. But I was saying we can save a lot of cloth if we cut in the right way.
Yeah.
So I wrote optimizing programs for this, and I sold it to almost every luxury company in France because we have a big luxury base in France with Lacoste, Dior. We have all these brands. So they all purchased it because I wasn't selling it for a lot of money. And then aeronautics, the aerospace part continued. And then in the 90s, I was really in a boom. I was an artificial intelligence boom because I had no competition.
Yeah.
There was no competition. Nobody. I was saying, I go to a corporation, I say, I have this optimizing program and I'm using expert systems, heuristics, chaos theory, and everything we know today, everything that we know today that was forgotten by many people. I was using it and they say, wow, that's interesting. So and I say, do I have some competitors? Well, not really. You know, there's another company that's working on it, but they don't have much funding. And I had all the funding from my other customers. So 1990s was a boom. And then we reached 2000, let's go fast forward to 2006 when servers came along.
Yeah.
So when servers, I never had problem with data because I was in corporations that had Oracle SQL Server and they were packed with data. They were super packed with data.
Yeah.
So
They are super. Yeah.
So I didn't even notice there was no data. People saying, oh, today we have data. And I said, what are they talking about? Because in aerospace, they track everything. So you have almost too much data, and I had to choose the data I needed. I had too much data.
Yeah.
So then, and apparel companies keep tracking what they're doing. So I had all the data I needed. So in 2006, I was reaching some kind of maturity because I had done some very, very difficult AI projects, extremely difficult ones where the numbers were mind-blowing. People with 60 million customer orders on 5 continents, 200 manufacturing companies. I mean, these were very, but I was experienced since I started around your age, and I was working all the time on the same subject. I was an expert.
Yeah.
And I was reading, and I was also teaching at the Sorbonne, stuff like that. So I was building up experience. And in fact, I'm very slow. But over the years, I just piled it up on the same topic. So I learned very slowly, little by little, spending nights and days on books and stuff like that. But I had so many years to learn before it became, something popular.
Yeah.
So in 2006, when the servers came along, I say, oh, that's great. Let's do software as a service.
Yeah.
And we won't have to deliver. We won't have. And it took 6 years to make 2012 to really get everything on the web and nothing anymore on laptops or computers, even development. I had all the development done with my team on servers, finished. So at that point, I was reaching super maturity. And I was saying, well, I'm going to scale a bit, but I'm afraid of that because basically you can see that I'm a researcher. I'm not, I'm an experimenter. And I just was lucky corporations like what I do. So at that point, I was saying, let's scale a bit. So I signed these big things like Disney, all the aircraft companies, Air France, people in airports, all the way to China. And then at one point, I had hundreds of people buying my. I wrote one engine optimizing it, could do anything, textile, aerospace, because I said, I'm fed up with this and I don't want to work that much. So I wrote this universal Turing compatible optimize, and I put it in under HTML pages. And I just sat back, and signed these big contracts with transportation, everything. And at one point, around 2015, 16, I got scared because this AI boom came along.
Yeah.
And people began speaking about it, but I had already like 35 years behind me. So I got requests. I was just drowned in requests, and that scared me because I'd been living this nice little life in corporations, earning some money, and then I go home, I drink some French wine, eat some French food. I didn't even want to scale. We had this small company with my wife, and we were happy with taking a lot of it. And all of a sudden, I get this pressure where everyone wants these big corporations. They want things for like 50 countries, stuff like that. And I was saying, no. I'm this small computer guy. I survived decades while I don't even know what the outer world looks like. I was in my world with my family and earning the money I needed to live my life. And I don't care. I'm like a Siddhartha in one of your forests. Okay, these people, the Sadas that live in the forest in India.
Yeah.
Sardars.
Yeah, these are the most intelligent people on earth because they can
You
live
think
without
so?
smartphones, computers. They don't have to live in small apartments. They don't have to go to work every day. They understood, and they're the ultimate ecological solution. It's the ultimate. If everybody lived like that on this planet, of course, like us with families, there would be no pollution, there would be no climate, there would be no wars, there would be nothing. So they're the ultimate example of what we should be. And you have Rabindranath Tagore, Rabindranath Tagore.
Yeah.
He wrote a book on that, and he got a Nobel Prize, in the 20s.
Yeah.
So that's more or less my model, if you want to know the truth. So I'm saying, because I know a lot about your Indian culture. So I was saying, that's how I want to live. I want to live in society, and I want to live my family life. And I'll consider my life in society like karma yoga, like Vivekananda. Vivekananda says, you can get somewhere in society if you retain your values.
Yeah.
So that's more or less my philosophy mixed with my Jewish Christian background. You put it all together. So at that point, you can see why it scared me, because I said, I'm going to have to go out of my forest because I live in Paris, but I also live in the country. And I didn't want to do that. So we sold our company at a very good price since we were in fashion. So it was and then I followed up the company for a few years, training people. And then I started writing books, being an instructor, a speaker, talking to people like you. But it's not a constraint. See, I don't have to travel. I just have to travel to this room and talk, and then turn it off and go eat. So that's okay. So more or less, that's my life in a nutshell.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, one thing I'll take the point. Like in your time, it was all artificial intelligence. In our time, what would be, because we are extremely poor. Our wages are like 1,000. We don't have even like 5,000 or $10,000 in our bank account. We are funding our company by our own money, not an investor. But we are like exploring more and more. Since we have rolled out our collection on NFT space, and we are trying new things in this spaces. So what do you think? What would be like our first hit, so that we would work in that thing, or will get more success?
So how can you grow your business?
Sorry.
You mean how can you grow your business?
Yeah, like yours.
Well, it's not easy because you can see that I'm an intuitive person. I just sat down on my piano, and from the piano I went to a keyboard, and to the keyboard I'm thinking. Then I went to companies and I said, you want to earn money or don't you want to earn money? Because I can save you a lot of money. So they said, sure, try. and then it just worked. So I'm not this person that I have an MBA, but I never use this capacity. I don't like to calculate people. So I would say, how can it help people? You have like in artificial intelligence, the difficulty is no one really understands what it is.
Yeah.
And the second thing is no one knows that we're in industry 4.0. Those are two, let's take these two problems.
Yeah.
Industry 4.0 means that, okay, it'll give you a path. Let's take a country and let's not take India or Africa all the time. Let's take the United States.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take the United States. You can say that the first industrial revolution was when we got machines, right?
Yeah.
And before that, it was agriculture, the agriculture revolution that got enough food so we can do that.
Mm.
In the United States, because I'm always tired of speaking about other countries, because we're hiding stuff. United States, 1.5 million people do not have electricity.
Mm.
You're talking about the richest country in the world. They don't, 1.5 million people don't have electricity. So they're not even in the first industrial revolution. They live in places like Ohio, in places where factories were closed and then companies shut their electricity off. You can find them in the woods. They're living in tents. They don't have electricity. So they don't know what the first revolution is.
Yeah.
So that's a problem to get them there. Then you get like the second revolution was more industrial mechanization with cars and things like that. And let's bring it all the way up to computers. Yeah. But half of the world population does not have a computer. 2.5 million American children live in the streets.
Yeah.
2.5 million. That's one child out of 10. 1 out of 10 children in the United States lives in the streets. Okay, so you're saying, oh, that's, does that really exist? Is he pulling my leg? In fact, I just wrote an article this morning on that for Amazon, and they were so astonished that they wanted all the references. So I had to get the UNESCO references out, the Center of Disease Control United States, all these figures out, because no one can believe it. Like in Germany, the population is about 70 to 80 million people. 7.5 million people don't know how to read and write. In Germany, which is considered, they don't know. So what I'm saying is, now we get to the third revolution with internet. What do you do if half of the world population doesn't have electricity? Okay, so then people. So now we're talking about the upper level of people have electricity, smartphones, computers, and all this thing that makes up technology. And then you get to this incredible thing that these people living up there that are so smart and so rich around the world, during COVID, they say, yeah, we're in a digital transformation. I'm using Zoom. Okay, I'm using Zoom because this is a digital transformation.
Yeah.
The problem with the digital transformation is that's 1996. That is the third industrial revolution, 1996, where internet came along and all the rich people already had it. Yes. So what people are discovering is something that happened 25 years ago. Oh, so now they're 25 years late. Now, Industry 4.0 started in the United States, in Germany, and China especially, that has begun to build the digital Silk Road. China is beginning to build, so people can say anything they want about China. I'm both French and American, and you're Indian, and you can take your army, go to the border and fight them for I don't know what territory. Americans can send submarines to Australians who don't know how to pilot them, by the way, or maintain them or support them. And these submarines will be ready in 2035. So, it was so urgent. So if you take all these politics out of there and you look at supply chains, okay, you look at China is probably number one in the world in terms of supplying people with goods. And they have a digital Silk Road. That's the fourth revolution. They're connecting everything and they're getting digital money. And Germany also has things like that in cements and car industries where machine talk to machines. You don't have people.
Yeah.
I've been on sites like that in France. In the aerospace, you have machines talking to machines. This machine does something and tells this machine what to do, and that one, and you go much faster because there's not enough people. We don't have enough trained engineers. People say, yeah, but that's making a lot of unemployed people. I say, oh yeah, well, why don't you go to an aerospace company and find the engineers? You're not going to find them because it's very rare. So we're in the fourth industrial revolution, and that's one thing that I would say the majority of managers don't know.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people
Even in India, which is going to the top, that works for so many companies around the world. Most managers don't understand what Industry 4.0 is and how it can help them.
Yeah, it's actually the problem.
So that's one thing you can help companies saying, listen, I know you don't like China, but maybe you want to be rich. Why don't you start connecting?
It is the main concern of ours.
Why don't you start connecting to the digital Silk Road of China with digital money? And they say, how can I do all that? Well, let me tell you, because I'm going to tell you how much money you're going to earn. You'll be delivered faster. You will deliver faster because you're connecting everything to everything. So that is one area where you can help people, and it's so easy to explain because you understand it naturally. Everything's connected. Yeah. So everything, but you're 20, but you're talking to people that are 40 or 50. They don't understand that. Yeah. It's easier to explain to a 5-year-old than to explain to a 40-year-old because the 5-year-old is already connected. Yeah. So but that's where you can help them. You can say, my generation can help you. That's where your age becomes an asset. And then the second thing is people don't, so they, first of all, they don't know what it is. And then when you talk machine to machine, they don't know what automation is. Automation is 95% classical automation and 5% AI. You don't need AI for automation. You can automate a lot of things with rules, just writing code. So that's where you can say, first of all, we can explain where you need to go, because we're in a generation where everything is connected. And you will see that little by little, American companies, Germany, they will ask you to be connected in real time all the time. And then we can explain automation, because automation is not always artificial intelligence. Yeah. So you need to look at corporations that do this. In my profile, I do a lot of certificates because I like to go on Udemy, and I just like to follow a lot of courses to keep update. Yeah. Because we're all obsolete every 3 months.
Yeah. Sure.
Every 3 months. Yeah. I don't know. You go back to zero.
I think in 1 month we are obsolete, because in 1 month we are having a new phone out in the market. Yeah. With a new technology.
Every day. Yeah. Every 3 months every 3 months, to put it nicely, we're gone. So you can find one in my certificates on Industry 4.0 that I did with the University of Hong Kong. And it's an excellent course. It's very cheap, maybe, I don't know, $15, $20, something like that. Yeah. But it's worth millions. Yeah. Because the Chinese person that explains this is so smart. I mean, because we're always speaking about Chinese government. What about Chinese people? Chinese people, they were just born there. It's not, they're not responsible for what's going on. And they're extremely educated, and they on supply chains. So especially in Hong Kong, because I've delivered in Hong Kong, they know everything about supply chain. So that you can look in my certificates and you will find there's just one course, Industry 4.0. You'll recognize it's a Chinese. Follow that course. Yeah. Because if you follow that course, I've answered your question 500%, because you can use that course and teach it, go to companies and sell presentation days. You can build your own thing. You can customize it for India, and you can go sell it for whatever you want per day, because you won't have much competition. You'll be like me before, since no one understands. Yeah. Then the second thing you can do is, if you read my last post, read all my posts all the way back to when I present GPT-3 in a video. I show a video of OpenAI. Read all those posts. But you will see in my last 2 or 3 posts that you can learn how to use transformers with Google search. In the post I posted today. And you can tell managers, we can explain how to use artificial intelligence without programming. So we can do this seminar for you, and you can even try things on Google search. Or if you can manage to get into GPT-3 OpenAI, you don't need to know how to program. In fact, you can type and it creates the program. So if you can get your hands on things like that, then you can go to see managers and say, I can explain Industry 4.0, automation, and we can do a workshop where you don't need to know how to program, you need how to think. And if you combine both, then it will be using GPT-3 to ask questions on supply chains and all that. See what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a good segment. You can one idea. There are a lot of other ideas, but that's something you can work on.
You have given us one idea. We have to explore more ideas on this. That's our job. You have done your job, right?
Yes. You can build a seminar on that and have people pay. In fact, I think I'm invited next Saturday to a seminar, and I think it's in India too. But they're selling a course on GPT-3, like one seminar for maybe something like 20,000. What's your currency? In your currency?
Like 20,000 rupees because our
Indian rupees. 20,000 Indian rupees for one day. That's about 2,000 euros, right?
See, actually, what the problem in India is,
and they're just showing people how to use GPT-3 online. So imagine what you can sell because your purchase power is so big with 20,000 Indian rupees. It's worth a lot more than 2,000 euros here. So which goes back to the beginning of my conversation. People say, 2,000. No, you can't calculate in nominal currency. You have to calculate in purchase power. What can I buy with 1,000 euros? What can you buy with 10,000 Indian rupees? I am sure that you can buy a lot more than I can buy with 1,000 euros.
1,000 euros is worth like 1 lakh rupees in India.
How many?
How
many? How much?
1 lakh rupees. 1,000 euros. Because 1 euro is
I don't know. It's like how much do tomatoes cost? How much does meat cost? If you put all that together and then you ask me to buy the same thing in Europe, I'll be paying much more. But that's why you're number 3, because you can sell to Western countries almost the price of their day, a little less, but then you're getting so much money in purchasing power. See what I mean? When people sell development days for $500 instead of $1,000 in the United States, when it comes into an India bank account, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. We can have, like, if I have 500, I can survive for 4 or 5 months in my
of course, because I've worked a lot in Africa. And I've seen African computer companies sell, instead of charging 1,500 euros a day for your ERP, we'll only charge 750 euros. And the people in Europe are so happy. But then the average salary in some of those countries is 200 euros. So they're earning tons of money. So there's a lot of things you can do. So did I answer your question?
Sure. Now let's go.
Okay, that's really interesting, sir. So while talking, you use this term called transformer. So can you explain about it and how it's work?
Yes, that's an important factor. In fact, it adds to the previous. So let me sum it up. For up to transformers in 2017, you had a lot a lot of algorithms. Let's not go into detail, but let's go to a deep learning algorithm. Let's say it's a convolution neural network. In a convolution neural network, you have layers, okay?
Yeah.
You have different layers, and they do different things. And they're of different sizes. We can agree on that, right? You take any deep learning, different layers, different sizes, doing different things, okay? And consuming a lot of computer power, okay? But the problem is that this deep learning algorithm can only do a few things. It can do maybe computer vision, or maybe it can do some natural language processing, maybe sentiment analysis.
Yeah.
Or then maybe I have to use another one to do semantic search, or maybe another. So I can end up with a library of 20 algorithms, right? Which is okay, which was nice until 2017, 2018. Because now the problem is when you're doing Google search, you have like 5 billion requests a day. You have billions and billions per year. If you're Microsoft, people are programming, but the pressure is too big to go faster, go faster and faster.
Yeah.
Let's say on Facebook is under extreme pressure to analyze everything that's going on. But people don't realize that there are 2 billion members with billions of stuff per day. And then they say, hey, Mark, what do you think about that post there? He said, which post? That's post number 1,500,000,000. And he's in a Senate committee. And they're saying, why didn't you control that? He says, why didn't I control that? Yeah, these people are totally insane. But because I was surfing, I'm a multi-billionaire. I don't work that much. I was surfing. He likes surfing. So maybe you should ask people in my company. I'll get the information. And the senators are so dissatisfied. Why can't you answer? And he says, so then they go down a level. And then they'll call in people like me and they'll say, give me an answer. Why did you say that, like Trump was saying bad things, and why did you take it down? I don't know. We have an algorithm that when it becomes too aggressive and stuff like that, we just cut it out of there. We don't know really how it works. It's just an algorithm, because we got 500 million posts on politics yesterday. And we don't have 500 million people. But then the US Senate says, okay, we're going to sue you now. We're going to take the protection you had away, which is Section 230, I think, that dates back to 1996, which protects them, and say, maybe we're going to take that out. So maybe it'll get you thinking. So it did get them thinking. And Google, they say, hey, we better get into industrial mode, because they're going to hit us hard.
Yeah.
And we need to go faster, and we don't have the people. I can't hire 5 million people that are going to look at 100 posts per day, or 50 million people. So we have to find something else. So Google invented the transformer, which says, no matter how many layers you have, they're the same size.
Okay.
That's a revolution. I don't care. So it's not deep learning anymore. It's post-deep learning. I don't care how many layers there are. They need to be the same size. And you know what? They're all going to do the same thing. We can't control that stuff. I'm not going to create all these. No, I want every layer to be the same size, and they don't go this way. They pile them up in a stack, and they say they all have the identical size, and they all do the same thing. So that's a revolution.
Yeah.
And it's not going fast enough. So Google's thinking it's not going fast enough. So even if it's the same size, I'm going to break it up into maybe 8, 16, 30 parts at each layer. And each part will do exactly the same thing, but using different parameters. And then once the layer is finished, what am I going to do with all that? I'm not going to merge it. I'm just going to add it all up. So now I have maybe 16 ways of looking at the same word in the same context that I'm sending to another layer that's going to learn from what I just learned. And it's just going to go on like that. And it's going to pile up. And it's so powerful because You don't need to go back in time like you did with recurrent neural networks, where you have to pilot. It's just working in itself with very simple matrix multiplication. You multiply this by the weights, and they say, there's a problem. Why don't we increase the number of weights? It's not doing as good as these other neural. Let's increase the number of weights. After all, we have computers. We don't care about users anymore. We're preoccupied with what's going online, and we're worried. Let's put 1 million parameters. Let's put 10 million parameters. Let's put 50 million parameters. So it doesn't have to be that smart to begin with, but it takes so much into account. So now you have these layers all the same size, each layer broken into exactly the same parts. And they say, hey, what if we trained each part on a different processor? That would be parallel processing.
Yeah.
Wow. And real parallel processing, not just sending a layer to a GPU. No, we're going to use a GPU per part, and we're going to dedicate it to it. So now you're speeding it up. And then that was Google. Then OpenAI came along and says, hey, Microsoft, give us a supercomputer. So they got a $10 million supercomputer with 10,000 GPUs, 30,000 or 50,000 CPUs, and whammo, they build it up to billions of parameters, 175 billion parameters.
Yeah.
And now what do you have? And that's where you have to understand the revolution. Yeah. Nobody knows what's coming out of it.
Yeah.
It is not trained like other ones where you give data sets and you label them. It's mostly trained on it's unsupervised learning on raw data. Yeah. So what it's doing, it's just learning language. So people are saying, what's going on? It's learning language, but what is it learning? Well, it's learning language. It's learning everything you write, all those stupid things you're writing all day there, the billions and billions of stuff. Well, it's learning everything, what lawyers say, what doctors say. But then how do you use it? Because if it didn't learn anything, and that's called emergence. That's the key word, emergence.
Yeah.
What comes out of it is emergent. It emerges like us when we say, that's a good idea. And that emergence is so big that I don't think you can even imagine it. You can't. It can do anything. You can say, answer this question, finish this context, give me a summary of this legal text. Do this, do that. I know, like 40 things. I've tested all of it. And you can even invent new things. Give me the synonyms of these words. Give me this. But of course, it's all in English. In English, it's pretty good. It's pretty bad in other languages. But in English, so you can invent exercises. Show me all the people. Tell me what are the different colors of hair in the world. So that's emergence. And then you have homogenization, which means that one model can do everything. So now you have this super model that can do everything, and it's built like a car. That is an incredible departure for anything I've seen. Okay, so when I was first Tushar Gupta from PACT, he said, there's this thing called transformers. There's no book on it, and no one understands it. That was back. A couple of mid 2020, mid 2020, he was reading stuff in the summer. He says, there's no book on this, but he's a visionary. And he's saying, I'm sure, I don't know, no one's talking about, there's 0 books, but I'm sure if he had a book on it, I'm sure this thing is going to become big because he's a visionary. Okay. The guy's a visionary. Okay. So, well, you have to have visionaries when you're in a publishing company. Otherwise, you're going to publish books that don't sell. So he's a visionary. Says, why don't you do it? I said, give me a day or two. And I looked, I found nothing. I just found like Hugging Face, which was full of bugs. At that time, they were just beginning. I found like code on GitHub, and I said, wow, what is this? Then I said, let's look into the papers. And it's when I began to read the papers, I say, whoa, this is the revolution. This is the artificial intelligence revolution because of the industrial aspect. So I wrote my book only based on papers, and I had to correct all this code I was getting that was just beginner code for people. And then what happened is since I became an expert, I noticed that it went back to Google again, and they created a trillion parameter model.
Yeah.
And I say, gee, what's that? How can that work? Because I have access now to OpenAI supercomputer. It's very, because you have the model, but in fact you can fine tune it. People don't know that. I've written a post and videos on that.
Yeah, we saw
If
that.
you're in there, you get the access, and I fine tune one to think like Kant, the German philosopher. And I said, wow, that's mind blowing now. They're giving this a super thing, and I can add something on top of it, that I like, more data and more learning. And then I go back and I say, how can Google do that? Now, Google has invented a new supercomputer. They're specializing in domain computers. Say, why do I don't need all those floating points for my weights. I don't need them to go, 10 minus 18. Why don't we bring the floating points down and we'll go faster? So they build their own TPUs, and now they have these supercomputers that I've begun to use too. Wow, they go incredibly fast and they're incredibly cheaper. So you can rent them for a few $100s an hour or a day. For a corporation, that's not much. And 17,000 maybe dollars a year to use it a lot. But for a corporation, that's okay. And they have access. They can fine tune things. So transformers, if you now take transformers and you superpose it to what I was speaking about, Industry 4.0, I mean, we're in another era.
Thanks for it, because we are investing we are having time, not money. So that's why we have opened our NFT project, so that we can we are
another era.
With this,
you have to bring these people into this era, because some people you're going to have overlapping. That's why I was speaking about the revolutions. You'll go to, let's take the United States again, because I don't want to take other countries. I think it's very bad to do that. Oh, let's go to see these Africans. Yeah, well, what's wrong with Africans? You have something, what's your problem with Africans? There's a lot of rich Africans. I mean, Africans are richer than you. In fact, there are soccer players that come from Africa that earn more than you do in a lifetime in one day. Yes. So maybe you want to leave Africans alone. Okay, so let's go back to the United States. You have people that you have to bring from the agricultural revolution to the first revolution because they don't have electricity. You have to bring some people from electricity to modern world because they don't have access to it. And then you have people that are in the digital world, but I compare them to the people that don't have electricity because they think that they're in the digital revolution, but that was 25 years ago. So it's like going to an island where you find people living in the Stone Age. Oh, we're modern. Well, no, you're not modern. Digital age, that was 25 years ago. Right now China is expanding full speed with countries like some European countries, United States, connecting in Industry 4.0. And how do they connect without having artificial intelligence? And how can you do artificial intelligence without transformers and basic automation, 95% classical automation? So there's so much you can teach and transmit. I mean, it's unlimited.
Thanks for Now you have.
I find that amusing. I find that amusing. I like to watch people talk, and they think that they're in the modern age, but they're speaking about something like 25 years ago. Or people in artificial intelligence, often they don't exceed what Alan Turing wrote in 1950. So, and he wrote in 1936, he wrote something on computing with machine intelligence to solve the Enigma problem during World War II. And theory has not moved since. What we see with Transformer is an industrialization of it. But I haven't seen anything new in theory, maybe since, maybe in quantum theory, in quantum mechanics. There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
in theory. Okay, so you had other questions?
Yeah. So you have answered like how are all the questions to only two, three questions are left.
So
I don't know.
I have one more question. So, what do you think that are we able to achieve AGI through transformers?
Um, Transformers. Now, the only thing I can really speak about that I really know extremely well is not really the natural language processing part, because that is so easy in terms, let's say, if you're going to a corporation, they don't need natural language processing that much. You might need it in a big firm of lawyers, for example, in Paris or New York, where they have 200 lawyers and they're always looking for legal documents, but they have databases with standard queries already. So in natural language processing, there is a market, but it's pretty well occupied by Google already, and
Yeah.
Amazon Web Services and OpenAI. They've occupied it with GPT-3. You can only do training. Now there's an area where I'm an expert in, is supply chains, and I would if I was still doing projects, but I don't want to do them anymore, because the projects people ask me to do are projects for like 50 countries. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I want to eat my little meal. They bought my company. I have enough money to eat. I'm in the SADA system, where I just need what I need to eat. I don't need anything else. But if I were in India, for example, I could go see a company and I can say, your sequence, the scheduling supply chains is sequences. And do you really understand your sequences? Now, what I tell you, I'll try to tell you in simple words. Everyone imagines in a supply chain that let's take India, which is very developed in this field. You make the cloth, then you take the cloth and you go to the factory. Then you go to the factory, you cut the cloth. Maybe you have to dye it if it weren't dyed. Then you cut the cloth. Once it's cut, you give it to the sewing department. The sewing department will give it to the packaging department, or if it's jeans, maybe to washing and all that stuff, laser. And then distribution, then you have to get it into trucks, and these trucks have to get to ships, and the ships have to go all the way to Europe. From Europe, they have to get off the ship. They have to go to a warehouse. From the warehouse, they have to take little trucks and get to shops. Now, that's an incredible journey.
Yeah.
That is not something you can say is not bumpy. Okay, and that's where you can see where connections are missing all over the place. So the problem is that everyone plans in a sequence, right? That's my domain. That's how I succeeded. But these sequences are not sequential.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meaning that I can be sitting in my sewing department waiting for cloth that's not there. Yeah. Or the cloth can be there, but I'm too busy.
Yeah.
So you have all these transversal events that are coming that are part of the sequence. And in fact, that's what people do all day, is try to correct these sequence errors in the beautiful line we see here that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in any company or any corporate or any sequence in the world. If I'm in a ship, there's a storm. If I get to a French port, they might be on strike, because that's a French sport. You don't know this, but in France, getting on strike is a sport. You're not happy, let's go on strike. It's people are like this in this country.
Yeah, people are not ready to learn a new skill. They are ready to strike. They are ready to
strike. They don't care what's going to happen.
Yeah,
you can have 2,000 tourists stuck in the airport.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, because in France they come from a country where oppression was so big during the royal period, during the kings.
Yeah.
And during the first part of the Industrial Revolution, France was a very rich country, but people were treated like animals all the way up to the end of the 19th century. I mean, like animals. They would have to sleep in a small room of 15 people. They weren't paid. They were dying from disease. I mean, like animals, like something you wouldn't even imagine. You can't imagine it. You would have to read accounts of this.
Yeah.
So when the 20th century came along and they became worker rights, it's gone all the way to the top. I mean, executives will go on strike. Anyone will go on strike. So yeah, we don't care. We don't want to, because it's still in the minds of people the way they were treated before.
Yeah.
And you have populations like this in every country, but not everyone can go on strike.
Yeah.
So yeah, so now
the problem here in India is
so you're
also
going into this problem here of supply chain. So you can use a transformer to pick up all. I have a video on that. If you look for it, you'll find it. It's transformers in YouTube, where I use Markov sequences, and I create sequences. Let's say I pick up all the sequences I find in this company, but not the good ones. The good ones and the bad ones, everything, all these sequences. And I simulate all the problems that can happen. And I build this with Markov, and I use just letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all of this. And then I fed it back into a transformer that can say, well, if this happens, this will happen. This is the prediction. So that if in your company, this sort of sequence is starting, this will happen. So you better watch out, because you're in a bad sequence here.
Yeah.
If the sky is cloudy, it's going to rain.
Yeah.
If the wind is going up, you might get a storm. If it's raining hard, you might get a cyclone. But what you want to do is detect it before it starts.
Yeah.
And so that was my job. That's what I did for many years, is supply chain optimization. And I installed tools like that. Now, I would use transformers as a think tool. I would take all these sequences, because I used to write a lot of algorithms to get this. Now I would get the sequence, and I say, let's do all these simulations. And then I would put a little agent, and I would show how this little order is going along, from cloth to this through the factory. I've done simulations like that. In fact, I've done it physically. I've taken thread from Japan, gone to France, see it manufactured, follow the truck, go to the factory, all the way into the company physically, because that's the only way you can see where people are lying in the company. Everything went fine. I said, well, that's not true, because on Tuesday I was behind the truck, and the truck stopped, and he went to eat for 3 hours. He got late to the factory, and now you're blaming the factory for being late on production.
Yeah.
So maybe you want some tracking here. So I would use it for this. I would use it for sequences or e-commerce sequences, like Google Analytics has these pipelines. And I'm not inventing things. This is what YouTube does.
Yeah.
It takes everything. And you have, I have posts on that. I have even YouTube, a Chinese researcher made recommenders. There are a lot of recommenders in e-commerce. And he did one with a transformer, including customer behavior. So if the person is going this direction, he's going to do that.
Yeah.
So I would use it for e-commerce recommenders and supply chains, which is the same thing, because supply chain starts with e-commerce today.
Yeah.
So it's one block.
Yeah. So yeah. So how the prompt language differ from this natural spoken language?
Which language?
Prompt.
That we use in OpenAI Codex.
You mean programming language or language, real language?
This is the prompt.
Yeah, prompt language that we use in OpenAI Codex to
the thing is, it was trained. I think it was trained very well for English. And prompt is a meta language. That you have to learn how to talk to it. I explained that in my post today. Look at the post, and you'll see and you can train using Google search. It means try to find something a bit unusual and see how long it takes you to get it to the first rank of the first page. That's a game you can play to learn transformers, because Google search uses a Google BERT. And I use Google search with prompts, and I don't follow the rules of Google search anymore. I use the prompts I learned in GPT-3. So that's in my post today. So you have to learn that meta language. Once you learn it, you'll get your search at rank 1. So, and once you do, then you know the prompt language.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything else.
Yeah.
You can go to a corporation and say, hey, sir, how long does it take you to get what you're looking for at rank 1 and not waste your time scrolling, reading the stuff, going to YouTube things, and you're wasting weeks, hours, maybe years of your life going around in circles. But if you master the meta language of prompts, I can save you weeks of your life. So look at the post today. I mean, now it's not something, honestly, you can learn it. It's not something I learned because I'm born with an optimization mind. You can see it.
Yeah.
I was born like that. Even when I was at school, when I was 6 or 7, I was trying to figure out how can I learn as much as possible in less time so I can go play outside. So my thing was, get out of here. So get out of school. So I would say, what if I learned the lesson of math during the lesson of history where the teacher is just boring to death and he's repeating the same thing? Or maybe I can review now history very quickly while I'm in English classes. So by the end of the day, generally, I'd finished my day and I was among the best in the class. And I was always playing at home, and my parents say, don't you have any homework to do? If you go back to the way we built our company, a small company, profitable, and get out of the office very quickly to go do other things.
Yeah.
So you can learn, the meta language through Google search, and you read the post today. You'll save you maybe weeks of your life, and you'll learn both how transformers work and how to use them, and how to teach CEOs to use it. You can build an example where you have things that CEOs might want to look in a workshop, and then you can you use your prompt language until you optimize the right sentence, and then you go see them and say, look, I can do it in 1 sentence.
Yeah.
How fast can you find this information? CEO is going to say, well, let me type it. And you say, look, 5 minutes of your life, 10 minutes of your life, and you're paying me. You're paying me because I'm giving you a workshop.
Yeah.
Not only are you wasting an hour of your life, you've been paying someone to waste an hour of your life. So maybe you want to bring that down, and you can get him to write. And now he knows what transformers are.
Yeah.
Because he knows the prompt engineering. He say, so I can use that for marketing. I can use that for, I see. See what I mean?
Yeah, it's absolutely like you have given the tons of knowledge in this podcast. Like, if I will suggest anyone that the content of this podcast is like so rich that anyone in this world can, if he listens to and understood this podcast, I am going to use your like ideas in our like NFTs, because that's the case we are working right now. And also I want to give one NFT to you. So do you have any account on?
That's what I am. I'm just a pack of ideas.
Yeah.
But I applied a lot of these ideas, and I just, in fact, my career is ideas, and I just translated maybe, I don't know, 5%, because I write a lot of stuff I never talk about.
Yeah.
In very cheap laptops or very cheap servers, and it became money. The money went to the bank, got me to live. Then I go back to my ideas, but I'm just walking around with ideas in my mind. I don't even need to write code. I can write code in my head when I'm doing sports or eating, and just type it down after. So take all the ideas you want, copy everything.
Yeah.
Go make money.
We actually remember you, like you are being one of, in India it would be like gurus, right? We call them
guru. Often people like to call me a guru. I use the word sometimes, but it's only a pale reflection of what a real guru is. A guru is not someone that teaches you how to use a computer. A guru is the guy that teaches you how to live your life.
Yeah.
and the deep part of your life. We're not animals. So if you want to be an animal, then yeah, I can be your guru. If you want to be something else, you need to find a real guru.
Yeah. 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 So yeah, you have given a lot of
So now I'm going to go eat my lunch.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for.
Now that you know how lazy I am now.
No problem.
You know my secret. I'm about the laziest person on earth, which is why I optimize so much. So take all the ideas.
Yeah.
And if you publish the podcast somewhere, send me a message and I'll make a post on it to promote you. Just give me you know, where people can contact you and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
So thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a nice lunch. No, for you it's afternoon. So have a nice tea.
It's evening for us actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
4 o'clock.
Yeah. So have a nice evening.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have a nice lunch.
Yeah.